Welcome back to the 2023 Run Rabbit Run 100. I'm Jamil Curry from Mountain Outpost, and coming to you with Zach Marion, two-time finisher, two-time buckle owner from this race.
Absolutely.
Zach,
yeah.
how you doing?
Doing pretty well, man. Doing pretty well. Things are kicking up here. We're going to start getting athletes coming through
Packet
soon.
pickup is starting in about 20 minutes, so it might get a little louder for our upcoming interviews. But
The excitement.
We're joined here live in Olympian Hall with Nicole Bitter. Thanks for joining us. This is going to be your third time at Run Rabbit Run. How are you doing? Welcome to Steamboat.
Great. I love it here. So, it's just fun to come back. And being in the mountains here is uber special.
You've got an illustrious career, Nicole, and we're excited to see you competing again out here. I guess first off, I'd love to learn what originally brought you out to this race, what's your history with it, and then what's bringing you back this year.
Yeah, so at the time I did my first Run Rabbit Run, and I was living in Dallas, Texas, so really wasn't conducive to training for mountain races, but I just was up for the adventure. And I think at the time Ultra was sponsoring the race, and they said, we want some of the athletes out there. I think, Zach, that you probably had the same story. Yeah. And so headed out to Run Rabbit Run, and it was definitely challenging, especially those last 20 miles, I think. I was able to get third, so for me that was a big accomplishment. I felt proud of that. So it was kind of like my foray into doing a lot of racing more in the mountains. As a flatlander, it's obviously not something that I do as frequently, so it was a fun adventure.
Nice. Yeah, and you've run obviously a lot of mountain races since then. I think we shared some miles at UTMB one year.
Yes,
I remember that. Tell us about this year. Is this one of your A races for the year?
Good question. I actually jumped in about 3 weeks ago, maybe, so it wasn't really initially something that I was targeting, but I was injured at Western, which was disappointing. So at that point, I was kind of at a standstill because I really didn't know what my next goal was. I guess I had spent most of the year training for that, and I just kind of needed some time to take a step back and see what I wanted to accomplish in the future, if anything, from a running perspective. And I actually just gave it some time. I probably took the most time off of running that I have, and I think from just a next step perspective, I decided, this is a great opportunity to get back in the mountains, just enjoy running again. So I really haven't done the focused training I would maybe have done in the past. So, I feel fairly fit coming off the flatlands, but, I think I'm looking at this more of an adventure race than something that I targeted from day one of 2023, if I'm being really honest.
No, that's absolutely fair. And you've got years of consistency and base under your belt, so that's going to play in your favor for sure here. Your overall speed is going to play into your hand on this course, because it is a runner's course. It doesn't look like it, but It is a runner's course. You've been here a few times. You've experienced the course a couple times now with some mixed results in there. How do you feel that this course plays into your strengths, and also conversely, what is the crux of this course for you?
Yeah, I think I really enjoy this course because, to your point, it is fairly runnable at sections. I wish I had that altitude going for me, but that's the challenge, I think.
I was going to say, you're in Dallas earlier, and now you're in Austin, right?
Now we're in Austin, yeah. So that's the element that's just challenging. You get up there against some of the folks that have, trained in the mountains, and, you're grasping for air. But I think other than that, my big focus this year is to really finish the last 20 miles strong. That's historically where I've suffered. And obviously my husband has been kind of taking a look at my strategy, which admittedly has always been kind of loose at best. So we've dialed some things in that I in the past haven't focused on as much, primarily doing more with electrolytes and things. So he thinks it's going to make a big difference in the last 20 miles. I'm hopeful, because obviously that would be a win for me. But yeah, I'm just going to kind of see how it plays out. But that's kind of where I really feel like I need to dial it in more this time. That's where I feel like in the past I've struggled the last 20 miles.
And so that strategy, specifically an electrolyte strategy or a nutrition strategy in general?
I mean, probably just broadly nutrition, but especially electrolytes, just focusing on getting more electrolytes in than maybe I've had in the past.
What do you guys typically go to, like a certain product that you guys are using?
Yeah, we use Element Tea, and so I've been just doing more with that this year, and it's definitely made a difference. So I guess even at 41, you learn new things, and so hopefully that is, it just makes a difference. I think the last 20 miles, both times that I've done this race in 2016 and 2021, the last 20 miles are really where I felt just the altitude and struggled.
You're up there quite a bit those last 20 miles.
Yeah.
You're kind of sustained high altitude versus going
Yeah.
up and dropping back down, right? That kind of like that answer sparked a couple things for me that I wanted to touch on. For those who don't know at home, the Bitter household is an elite level athlete household. You've got you and Zach Bitter. Are you guys are married for how long now?
5.5 years.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. I remember seeing you guys here and old times, the good old times, right?
Yeah.
You guys have been together for a while, and you have him to bounce stuff off of. Do you guys train with each other, coach each other, give each other tips? Like, how does that play out in the dynamic in the household?
Yeah, well, let's say he's primarily the coach, right? I would say that he actually spends more time as like a student of the sport and just dialing in things like nutrition, training methodology. I've always been a bit more loose on that, but obviously I have more than 30 years of running experience. So it's one of those things that, I have a good sense of what to do as well, but I always like to have his input. And in terms of training, I usually start earlier than he does. I train with a group called Rogue in Austin, and I coach a little trail group there. So usually I'm up running before Zach gets out the door. But we do some longer training runs together. And obviously it's fun when we get to train together. He's just a bit faster, obviously. We do have a couple of other members of the Bitter home that are actually big training partners. We have a senior dog that's retired. So she was my long-term training partner that's now, our grandma.
She's now crew chief.
She's now crew chief, yes. She wishes she came out. And then we have a young lady, miniature, a little Aussie who lives to run. So she probably is my teammate that I run with the most at this point.
You'll see my Aussie on the course tomorrow, Rosie. My partner is also runs with her nonstop, so I get that connection there is pretty important, and it helps get you out the door more often than not, for sure.
Yeah. No, it's the best. So, and then I just have really good training partners with Rogue. Actually, one of the ladies I ran with 20 or so years ago at Northwestern, we still run together and are about the same pace. So every morning at 5:30, we're out there together. So that makes it fun.
That's awesome.
Switching gears away from this race just briefly, I know lived in Phoenix for a while and now in Austin, staying motivated through the summers. I think I saw recently you did one of the night races in Texas. It was like triple-digit temperatures, maybe really humid. How do you approach something like that? And do you think it in any way helps you at an altitude race?
Yeah, I do think it makes a difference. So I think we miss you all in Phoenix, but in Austin, we've had the same dynamic. It's just been a really hot summer. And I think to your point, training in the heat makes a huge impact from an adaptation perspective. So it always, I feel like, I don't know, it's like the poor man's altitude, they say. And I think to some extent that's right.
True.
I try and capitalize on that. I don't know if in reality, the science behind it, Zach, is a test that it works. But I do think it makes the difference. And so coming off some of those miles this summer in the heat, hopefully I have that going for my favor because I have not been training in the mountains.
You're certainly comfortable with being uncomfortable running out there. So that's should play
true.
in your favor pretty well.
Very true.
We've been talking to quite a few folks about some of the unique aspects of this race. Curious your take on it, if they're like what your thoughts are on things like the Tortoise and Hare start times and noon start and all that kind of stuff. Like, does that mean much to you as an athlete? I know you run quite a few hundreds. Like, is it kind of make it a little bit more fun and interesting than just if it was a standard 6 a.m. start time with everyone going off at once?
Yeah, I mean, I think it does add in a cool dynamic, and the race has always done such a great job. I just love coming out here and competing, but there's an element of competition that I think does enhance the race dynamic, and it's super cool that you all are out here covering it's fun watching the sport evolve so much from when we were running back in the day to start out with, and so that element is pretty nice. I also just have a lot of cool memories from being out here. Last 2 years ago, Jamil, I don't know if you, but your brother Nick and sister-in-law Lauren, we spent about 2 weeks getting ready out here. So it was, fun running with them to gear up. So just like the memories, I think, carry me through for some of this, even when it gets hard. So those are the kinds of things that I kind of find motivational in coming out.
That's awesome. Are there any women on the entrance list you're looking forward to running with tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, there are just so many great competitors out there, just all of them. I mean, I've met so many over the years, and so it's just like a fun reunion. Yeah.
I want to touch on that a little bit. We've seen the female side of the sport explode over the last handful of years in terms of participation, competitiveness, more eyes on the women's field. Having been in the sport for a number of years now and having, kind of really gotten in at the beginning of that, how have you seen that change? I mean, you said 2016 was your first year here?
Yes.
And then now we're sitting at 2023. Talk a little bit about the evolution of specifically the female side of the sport and being here and seeing it now.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're spot on. I mean, there's just such a higher level of competition, which I think is so cool. I root for it. To me, it's great. I kind of love becoming an older lady and just cheering on because, I mean, at the end of the day, it's always great to see the sport get better, right? It's fun to watch records be broken and people do amazing things. So I'm a super fan of that aspect of things. So just the more coverage that women get, obviously that's an important dynamic. I'm definitely a champion of that in the workplace, and that's where I focus more on those kinds of initiatives, but it's great to see it really in the trail space as well. So watching some of kind of the up and comers kick my butt, I think it's pretty fun.
You were definitely at that hockey stick turn of the sport. So thank you for ushering in and being an example to all these women who are out there now crushing.
Well, no, thank you. I mean, I definitely cannot take the credit. I've been more of in the behind the scenes, but it's amazing to watch. So I think the race this year will be fun, and it's just cool to watch the spread of age. I mean, it's great to see like Denise Barrasso, who's 54 or 55, I mean, out here competing at such a high level, and then see folks in their 20s that are starting to just crush it. So yeah, just a cool sport that there's such an age range. You don't see that in many other sports.
Yeah, you can, compete at a high level for decades, really.
Yeah, I think it's more of like, obviously your body has to cooperate, right? There's that aspect, which is challenging. But for me, I think it's a lot of it's mental. It's just being able to withstand like the nature of being in pain for so long. I think that's the essence of ultra running, right? If you can do that, that's amazing. So especially kudos to those older athletes that keep showing up. I'm always impressed.
For sure. Well, Nicole, thank you for your time. We really appreciate it. We're excited to see you run tomorrow, and good luck.
Thank you. It will be great to see you guys out there.
Absolutely. Thanks, Nicole.
Thanks.